Really excited to be here, guys. The benefit of going on the last day of a conference is that you've heard some of these words and seen these slides many times. The bad thing is you've heard the word integrated search probably 1,000 times by now. And we talk about it, and as an agency director and as a former client-side and practitioner, the idea of integrated search is great in theory, but how do you actually do it? How do you perform it? When you go back from a conference and you're inspired about this idea of integrating paid search and SEO, what does it really mean? So what we've done with this presentation is we've put together practices, tactics that we use at Noble Studios for our clients that work time and time again. And so our goal for you is that you leave this presentation with additional salesmanship, additional focus on the idea of integration, and then also tactics that will work and improve it internally in your organization. Really quick, a little bit about me. I'm old. I've been doing this for 15 years. So been managing digital marketing since 2001, 11 years on the client side, 4 years in the agency side. And I'm also an instructor at the University of Nevada, Reno. I teach digital marketing at the university, and I teach web analytics. So definitely, as you see this presentation, there's a teacher's mind in it. A little bit about Noble Studios. You probably know us from our photo booth last night, if you participated. But we're also a full-service digital marketing agency located in Reno, Tahoe. We've got about 50 global search clients that we manage paid search and organic for. We were fortunate enough to be named a Landy Award winner by Search Engine Land this year. We're also a BrightEdge co-marketing sponsor, and have been using BrightEdge for about 4 years for our clients. All 50 of our clients right now are on the BrightEdge platform. We've really made BrightEdge a foundational technology component of the SEO work we do. So the goals I have for today are pretty simple. I want to, if you're not already convinced from seeing the other presentations that integration is the only way to get the maximum value out of search, I want to push you over the edge. I want to sell you on that idea. I also want to press the idea that integration is more than a buzzword, right? We talk to people, they say, yeah, we integrate paid search and organic, and we go, okay, great, what does that look like? Well, we add the data to our reports together. Well, that's not really integration. Or maybe they go to the extreme of, when we rank organically in the #1 spot, we let our paid search team know and they stop bidding on that keyword. Okay, again, that's not integration. Integration is more than that. Integration requires actual change to your workflow and change to the output, the deliverable that you're providing to clients. So we'll talk about that a bit. And then we want to consider, we've heard a lot about mobile first and micro moments and this kind of frequency of engagement mobile creates. We want to talk about how mobile impacts the recommendations we're giving you, the integration approach we're giving you. So, the problem for SEO in general and for search marketers in general is that it's really tough. Search marketing is hard work. We work in this volatile environment where it's often, the analogy is often the stock market, right? There's algorithm updates. There's new competitors jumping in. There's product innovation. So in this kind of fluctuating environment, how do you produce consistent results, right? There was an algorithm update September 1st, the Possum update. How many of you saw an impact from that on your traffic? So we had a few clients say they had 20, 30% decreases for 8 days and then bounced up above baseline, right? So how do you explain that? How do you produce results that are consistent when you're in this volatile environment? And so our approach here is leveraging what we call a blended portfolio, right? So just like the stock market, the idea is you can hedge your bet by having both paid search and organic running together. And so when we look at integrating paid search and organic, we hear an argument right off the bat from our clients. I don't know if you've heard this argument internally, but the idea is, well, wait a minute, we're already ranking well organically. Why do we want to add a paid ad? Right? If we add a paid ad to this, all we're going to do is start paying for a click that we used to get for free. And Google came out with a study a few years ago that was really useful in addressing this, and many people still argue this point, even though several studies have talked about it. Google looked at rankings and said, hey, if we're ranking in the first spot organically, and we add a paid search ad right on top of that, right on top of a #1 spot organic click, what happens? And I don't know if you guys have seen this report. What they found was that, yes, there's a slight decrease in organic, but ultimately you get 50% more clicks to your website. So it's incremental value. It's not displaced value. They're not competing necessarily. If you're in ranking 2 to 4, it's an even greater gain. It's 82%. If you're below the 4th ranking, if you're in the 5th ranking, it's almost 100% improvement and clicks to your website. So these don't compete. There's a room, it makes sense, right? It's more real estate above the fold, but there's an opportunity to gain incremental traffic without risking additional expense or additional exposure. And it totally makes sense, right? If you think about the search engine results pages, you've got a user, they've got a specific intent, and you've got a single search engine results page, right? You've got someone here looking for pet insurance, they've got these listings in front of them, and they don't care, right? Do they care if it's organic or do they care if it's paid? They really don't. They're looking for the most relevant information for them that will meet their need, that will answer their intent. And if you think about the way that the SERP pages have changed over time, especially purchase-driven searches, organic really has very little presence, right? Where are the clicks going to go in this example? They're not going to go to organic much of the time. Which all makes sense, right? It all makes sense. We know this, but ironically, when we start working with clients and we meet with companies, this is the organizational structure we see. We see these silos, right, between paid search, SEO, PR, social. How many of you guys have such a structure at your organization? Yeah, a lot of you, right? Yeah, maybe you talk a little bit, maybe you share reports occasionally, but again, it's not the most effective way to do it. And when you think about single user intent versus siloed internal approach, there's just a disconnect there. So when we see this siloed approach, we see typical challenges over and over again. We see bad decisioning, right? Incomplete data is providing poor decisioning. If you're doing organic and you're only looking at organic data, you're not seeing the whole picture. You're just getting a partial view. We see a lot of duplication of effort, right? We've got the paid search team using Adwords and keyword recommendations to do their own keyword research, and you've got the organic team doing this detailed, complex, keyword research. So you're wasting effort there and you're not sharing information. It's also interesting when we have these silos, what happens when one's number is up and one is down? Are you happy? Are you sad? Is it their fault? Are they not working as hard as you? It creates this finger pointing and kind of a lack of ownership. So we've seen these as inherent, problems with that structure that ultimately impact the overall marketing department performance and hold it back. So at Noble Studios, we do a few things to break down silos. I want to touch on two of them today. The first is defining unique areas of opportunities between the different channels we have, between paid search, between organic, between social. The next is how you can start leveraging data between those. That's really your how-to information and really your tactics you can take back after this. And I do want to make a note, though, for this to really work in integration to hold, and we've seen this time and time with clients, you've got to have the same measuring between SEO and paid search, right? We've got some clients we initially work with that measure paid search in terms of conversions and leads, and organic traffic in terms of traffic. And so when you have traffic as one measure and you have conversions as another, how do you know where to prioritize? How do you know where to spend your efforts? You really don't. You need to have them on an even playing field. So to make integration work, right off the bat, you have to have a single true north. You have to have a focused metric that goes across both. And when it works, it really works. We're very fortunate to have some great clients. One of them happens to be Union Square, where this hotel is located, the tourism bureau. They came to us initially for paid search. We came back to them and said, hey, you're missing the boat. We need to add organic onto this. And at the end of a year, we saw almost an 80% increase in organic traffic, 40 in paid search traffic, and 10,000 incremental referrals to partner sites, which was their conversion, like this hotel, driving traffic to those partner sites. And so had we only done paid search, had we just focused on paid search, the numbers might have even been better, right? We might have had a 60% increase in paid traffic. However, by focusing on both of these channels, the net improvement overall was much greater. And so when it works well, it's phenomenal. But again, it's got to be holistic. It can't be one isolated silo. All right. So we start by establishing a framework, right? We start by saying, how do we, at scale, define areas of opportunity? How do we determine, and we've touched on some of these slides in other presentations, so I'll move quickly, but how do we determine where to start and where to focus? And we've talked a lot about the idea of micro moments, and it's a really cool idea. It makes a lot of sense. I remember we're Google Analytics partners, and we were at their partner summit about a year and a half ago, and they presented this idea of micro moments, right? So the idea was, mobile's inherently changed the way we interact with the web, right? We have 24/7 access no matter where we're at. We can get in quickly. We're in line at the grocery store waiting to check out, and we're able to quickly jump into a planning for an upcoming vacation and jump back out. And so we see 150 times, I think, is the average mobile cell phone interactions users make. What we see in the analytics side of things is we see more sessions, right? We see more sessions in and out of the web. We also see those sessions are quicker, right? They come in with a specific task or micro task in mind. They perform that task, they're out. In fact, Google reported that overall session duration and pages viewed per session are down 18% across the web. And that's because of these micro moments. And we've seen and we've talked about the idea that the search engine results page, the layout of those pages are varying dramatically based on which micro moment they're a part of. And so you can see here local, videos, there's all these different layouts that align to these moments. And based on the layout, the opportunity you have from an SEO standpoint is dramatically different. And this is a great example. This is from BrightEdge, but there's really two search terms. On the right is New York hotels, and on the left is best New York hotels. And the idea here is just one word is different, the word best. That's it. One single word, and based on that, the opportunity you have from an organic standpoint is dramatically different. And so if you're not taking this into consideration, how you prioritize your content development or the keywords you're targeting, you're missing the boat. If you're trying to rank #1 for New York hotels, the impact that's going to have on your business, the traffic you're going to drive, the conversions you're going to drive, are much different than that on the left. How different, and we've heard the stat before as well, but 69% click-through rate improvement for those pages on the left, the discovery content pages. It makes sense, right? There's less competition, organics above the fold. But I think the way we think of this is a little different. We think of it as that also creates risk. If you're ranking for keywords right now in the top few spots and they have discovery intent or research intent, they may be recategorized. So what happens if those keywords all of a sudden have a 4-pack of ads above them? The impact, the value of those keywords has gone down, right? So you could be doing great and say, hey, I'm #1 organic. Why is my organic traffic down though? I'm still ranking for these keywords. And then also in terms of the actual click-through rate, if you are ranking for the purchase intent keywords and not the discovery keywords, you're leaving that traffic on the table. You're not getting the maximum value you could. BrightEdge, well aware of this trend, has launched Intent Signal. How many of you guys have used Intent Signal? Nice, well done. Especially the BrightEdge people. So here's how we use Intent Signal. Right off the bat, BrightEdge has this idea of striking distance keywords, right? So keywords where you're at the bottom of page 1 or you're on page 2, and by improving that ranking, by optimizing that content, you're already in that kind of distance where you can make an impact, get on the first page of Google where most clicks happen, and start driving traffic, right? We use this report to understand striking distance keywords, but we now layer on this idea of Intent Signal and isolate those keywords with no organic opportunity above the fold. So you can see the top kind of red square there. These are keywords for a client that we've targeted. They're important keywords. We've identified we want to be there, but we also understand that there's no opportunity above the fold. So it's not that we're not going to optimize those. We're going to put those at the bottom of the list. We're going to deprioritize those. We're also going to make sure those exist in a paid campaign. Because if we don't, even if we optimize them, we're not going to get the impact we want. It's all about user impact. It doesn't matter if it's paid or organic. It's about being front of mind for the user. And BrightEdge talked about this in terms of their kind of 4-pronged strategy, which we really like. The idea of, you have 2 variables. You have the organic opportunity and you have the current rank. So based on those 2 variables, how they interplay, you've got the option to optimize existing content, defend great rankings and make sure nothing changes on the SERP, create brand new content, or collaborate or partner with paid search, right? That's a great strategy. We love this strategy. We talk about it with clients all the time. We take it a step further at Noble, and we go a little deeper. We say, we know there's purchase intent. We know there's, we call it research, but we know there's discovery intent. We also break out brand keywords and local keywords because we find that there's these nuances in those keywords that are really specific to that intent, that type of group. We look at those keywords, we look at some of the results pages, we define where the advantage exists, right? Does the advantage exist for paid? Is it for organic? And within those kind of 2 central, branded and local, there's a lot of nuances, a lot of variance. We come up with a strategy based on that. We come up with where we want to focus, and then ultimately we measure that. We look at the results of that strategy either monthly or quarterly to see if we're fulfilling it, right? So if we have a strategy, for example, branded keywords, Noble SEO, right? That's a keyword. We displaced SEO Samurai, which felt really, really good. But that's a keyword we wanted to rank on. We wrote some content, we gave it a shot. We have to check back and see that it works. If we follow strategy and we don't get the results we want, we need to pivot. And so the idea here is that by setting this out, by documenting the strategy based on type of user intent, in the real document, obviously, we'll go much deeper in terms of the strategy, but you check back in frequently, you're going to be able to keep yourself accountable and drive results. And then, this is a little more painful because it's manual at this point, but it's really important. We've updated our keyword discovery process. So, typical keyword discovery process has the keyword, the search volume, maybe a thematic group it falls in, and then the priority from a client standpoint or your own internal priority level. We've added 2 columns to ours. One of them is intent signal, one of those 4 I mentioned, and the other is organic opportunity. This is pre-BrightEdge, right? This is keyword discovery before you pick your best keywords to make it into BrightEdge. So oftentimes we'll use DataCube. There's no connection with intent signal and DataCube right now. So we do manually is we look at the keywords, we look at semantic language, and we determine the intent. And then as we narrow those down to the keywords we want to really focus on, we go into the SERP pages for the top keywords and validate those. So it's a little more labor intensive, but it's well worth it when it comes time to figure out where to focus. You can eliminate a lot of noise and waste by using intent. All right, now we get really in the weeds, guys, really in the weeds. So data is huge, right? Data is how we drive marketing in digital. I went to a session that talked about we rely too much on data. We should not cancel out soft metrics or fluffy metrics or vanity metrics. I'm not sold yet. But the data we get from each of these silos, each of these approaches, can really benefit the other. And so we're going to give you just a handful of really specific approaches here that you can take home and will work well for you. So the areas we're going to focus on right now are keyword data, cost per click data, and call to action data. This is the paid and organic report in Adwords. Have you guys seen this report before? 1? 5, okay. This is a great report. It's rarely used. If you go into Adwords, there's the dimensions tab, which lets you kind of drill deeper into factors influencing results, and you can run a report on paid and organic. It will show you the click-through rate. It will show you the value of keywords where an ad is shown in isolation, where an organic search is shown in isolation, and what happens when the two are shown together, right? So right off the bat, if you start seeing, you've got the Google report that said there should be a huge increase, a huge benefit of both being displayed together, you can validate that right there on a keyword by keyword basis. Really important to use. The other thing you could do is you could find keywords where ads are showing up all the time, but you're not getting organic impressions. You're not getting the same level of organic impressions you want, and ultimately from that, you can focus your organic efforts there. You can look at those keywords and say, hey, I see ad value, I see there's ROI when I spend money, I'm not getting my fair share of organic, I need to move those up on the list. So it's a really great tool to share data with organic. Another approach we take is we leverage Google Search Console to feed campaign ideas into AdWords. And so this is the Search Analytics tab, Search Analytics area inside of Search Console. And what we do here is we look at all the keywords we're ranking for and getting impressions on. So we'll filter it by impressions, right? We'll get a big long list. And then we'll go a step deeper and we'll analyze those keywords and find those that have a purchase intent, right? So the example we've done here is for us, Noble Studios. We've got 800 impressions for a web analytics agency in only 1 click. Purchase intent keyword, highly valuable to what we offer as services, not a lot of traffic. Let's see if we can get some action in a paid campaign. And the benefit is you can prove that keyword through paid search rapidly. So if you're bidding on that keyword, do you get traffic from it? Is the traffic engaged and are they converting? To create content around this, several pages of content, to understand user intent when you write the content, that takes investment, right? So you can very quickly roll out a test campaign in AdWords, come up with a landing page and find out if it's worth it. BrightEdge lets you go a step further than that, right? With BrightEdge, you can take that keyword and see if you can find like keywords, semantically related keywords to focus on. So in this case, we took web analytics. We knew that was a big hotspot. We went into DataCube, we put our domain in, we got a full list of everything we're ranking for, and we filtered for the word analytics. So in doing that, we saw a couple purchase intent related terms that came to light. And in here for us, it was Google Analytics Partner, Google Analytics Certified Partner. Not something we had considered. We didn't know there was traffic around that. But we found out very quickly we're ranking, pages 4, 5, 6, 7, ranking deep, but this is a term that might have some action for us. So 2 things. We launch a test campaign in AdWords, and then we queue up content development around this keyword. As soon as we get a positive result from AdWords, we turn on the work to make that content happen. And then max cost per click, right? Or cost per click to get on the first page. This is totally underutilized. Have you guys used this at all to prioritize SEO? So, you've got these keywords. For us, this is SEO agency-related keywords. And if you look at them, they're all very similar. SEO agency, SEO company, SEO firm, best SEO agency. But the market value, if you think to the stock market analogy, the market value of those keywords varies dramatically. It goes from $2 per click to $15 or $16 per click. So you've got to believe, assuming your competitors aren't all crazy, you've got to believe that $16 cost per click is going to convert better. So when it comes time to go deeper and write your content and rank your content, what are you going to focus on? You're going to focus on the variations of that keyword that have the most market value. So it's been a hugely effective part of our prioritization from an SEO standpoint. Very underutilized. Landing pages are extremely important as well, right? So if you think of landing pages, so much effort in paid search is given towards landing page optimization, right? And conversion rate optimization. You're testing titles, you're testing call to actions, you're testing layout, CTA above the fold, CTA below the fold. You're doing all this work. When it comes to organic traffic, what we see often is that content's written and there's no attention to the conversion aspect, right? There's no focus on it. We've actually seen really great content. Blogs are a great example of this, right? You've got this great blog and a lot of people will come back and say, man, my blog gets a ton of traffic but doesn't produce results. Why is that? Well, there's no call to action. There's no call to action above the fold. And so the great thing about this report is you can go in and, again, Dimensions tab of AdWords. You can sort by your top landing pages in terms of conversions, look at those that have the best conversion rate, and then go visit those pages. What do they have in common? What language do they use? What keywords do they target? What call to action do they use? Where is that call to action placed? All of that information, all that knowledge can be shared to SEO content, to organic content. And there might be some politics in terms of implementing. You might have to get around some of the design factors, but it'll be well worth it. If your top landing pages organically don't have a CTA, or powerful CTA, that effort is not being maximized. So this has been a huge area for us to get value from. And then, last but certainly not least is you're doing this work, right? You're sharing data now. You've integrated the information between these silos. You have to know it's working. You have to pay that off, right, through results. And so we often use the BrightEdge cross-channel report. And the idea here is we remove all the channels except for organic and paid. We step back, we execute, we annotate our work, and then we look for results, right? We look for correlation between action taken and business impact. And then we also step back and look at it more globally and say, hey, at the end of the day, are the lines going the direction we want? Just very high level. Are we seeing things move up and to the right? If we see paid grow, it shouldn't happen at the impact or the expense of organic. They should both be moving up. There'll be fluctuations, we'll see, but they should both be moving up over time. Right. So we think of mobile, right? We know that the search engines are mobile first now. More searches take place on mobile than desktop. We know that mobile users are in and out of websites faster, are more entitled, have higher demands. How does this impact the approach we gave you? How does this impact the recommendations we made? And so we want to touch on that a bit and start by saying, we've seen a lot of studies that say users that are on mobile devices are more likely to scroll. Right? They're more likely to scroll down apps. They're more likely to scroll down pages. They're not more likely to scroll down a search engine results page, though. We see that the top 3 positions in the SERPs are more vital in mobile than desktop. And so we know there's a different click-through rate, a different click-through experience on mobile. We also know the prevalency of local 3-pack, of the local listing pack is greater on mobile, right? Location is known. Intent is often more obvious, restaurants near me, that makes it really obvious. That's another factor that you're going to have to compete with. So that the actual search opportunity, the organic opportunity between mobile and desktop varies fairly dramatically. And then have you guys heard of the upcoming change announced by Google, October 13th? They're rolling out a, Miley from Google touched on this, but they're rolling out a separate mobile index, right? So it's hot news. What is it going to mean? We do know that the mobile index is going to become the primary index, and we do know it's going to be most impactful when it comes to trending in current topics, right? Like election news, the Cubs game, all this stuff, all this trending content. So although we don't know the specifics, what we do know and what we can hypothesize is that there's going to be even more variance between desktop and mobile. They're going to be almost two separate channels. How does this impact the way we integrate? How does it impact the way that organic and paid work together? The reality is it really doesn't, right? The nice thing is these tools we use now are so robust. If you think of Adwords, Search Console, BrightEdge, you can isolate by device type, right? It's not like you need a different set of tools or a different approach. All the same steps we gave you are going to work for mobile and desktop. The difference is you're going to have to do it twice. You're going to have to do twice the work and isolate opportunities by each device. And it is more work and it is more investment, but it's well worth it. Getting that top ranking on mobile when the searches are happening there will be worth the extra time to select the right keywords and right content for mobile. All right, so key takeaways. Search marketing is tough, right? It's hard work. It's hard work to keep up on the algorithms, fight the competitors, get the rankings you want, make a business impact, go sell that business impact to the C-suite who really doesn't know what we do, right? It was the greatest thing ever. They said, yeah, my boss tells me to go SEO it. And I'm like, cool, but how do we already have to do all that stuff, right? So let's not make it any harder than it needs to be. Use all the tools. We've got the tool set, right? SEO and paid search are both tools in the same tool belt. Use them both. And the other thing we want to challenge you is to think of integration as more than a buzzword, right? Everybody says they're integrated, but are you really integrated? Do you really integrate paid search and organic? And our suggestion would be if you haven't changed your workflow after you've done so, if you haven't changed the way people communicate, the way reporting is done, the way that work is actually done for the client, you really haven't integrated. You're talking about integration, you haven't done it yet. And where do you start? There's a lot of places to start. We've seen this work time and time again with clients. Start by identifying unique opportunities by channel. And also leverage the data between these specialties. Once you start leveraging data, people get addicted to that data. They use it as part of their decisioning. They want it again and again. So once you get them there, the other things such as communication and frequent meetings, things like that, they become easier because they really see the value of what you have. And that was a lot of tactics, but the good news is we created a cheat sheet for you. noblestudios.com, Share16. You can download it, check it out. Really appreciate your time, guys. Thanks for dealing with my voice. Thanks so much.